What's going on, world? And welcome to Clearing the Wreckage Podcast. It's the voice and your host, Kareem A. Rashid. And once again, I don't know what you got going on. You could be getting on the toilet, or you could be getting off the toilet. Hell, for all I know, you could be wiping your tushy. But I know that I'm ready, and so I hope that you're ready to clear the wreckage. Yes, indeed. Okay. What up, my peeps? What's up, my fellow wreckage clearers? We're back for another great conversation. I love having conversations with you every week. I love it. It is exciting. It fills my spirit up because I know that we are connecting as one. As one, you and I are connecting. And I love that because you and I are on the journey together of clearing the wreckage. I'm so thankful that you have joined me 55 episodes ago. Can't even believe we're on episode 56, conversation 56 today. And it just amazes me that you have been with me this long to hear my story, to hear my journey, and allowing me to share that with you, and being welcoming of my story, of my journey. Accepting the invitation to come alongside of me and walk. And for that, I'm very grateful. If you have just clicked on this episode out of curiosity, thank you for joining us as well. I like to always suggest, as I always do, please go back to the very first episode, because I am sharing my journey with you, which I have welcomed you on and invited you along to come with me. So once again, thank you for that. And throughout this journey with each other, right, we have, in a nutshell, we've shedded our past limiting beliefs, right? So by now, I will hope that you are spiritually awakened. I know for me, during that time of my life, after going through that whole process of clearing the wreckage, learning the things that I needed to learn about myself, there was a transformation taking place inside of me. And I hope that that same transformation has been taking place inside of you. And if that is the case, then you may be just awakened spiritually by now. And so what had happened to me, I had become spiritually awakened. In other words, I had begun to tap into the spirit world, the spirit realm, so to speak. I had a psychic change. Some people would just call it a mindset change. I would call it a spiritual awakening. My spirit has become awakened. I am no longer dead. I have been reborn. We discussed so much. And some of those limiting beliefs that we had to get rid of, that I had to get rid of, was being a victim. I am no longer a victim. We've talked about that. Talked about how, man, I got to stop blaming everybody for my problems. I'm starting to take accountability for my actions. I'm getting rid of these resentments. I'm opening my mind up. I'm becoming willing. I'm becoming honest. All of this had to happen on the inside. All of it happened on the inside. None of this stuff was outside or external that was happening. The transformation takes place on the inside. And because of that transformation, then I began to see myself with the right eyes. Remember, we talked about that? I began to see myself as I should just see myself, as a human being, a wonderful human being at that, who just happens to make mistakes every now and then, but that does not put me into condemnation. I'm a human being, and I understand that God still loves me just the way that I am. That is a spiritual awakening. Seeing myself as a spiritual being, one who is connected to the Spirit, connected to God, and I'm just having a human experience here on earth. But I am spirit. That, my friends, is a spiritual awakening. Evolution of consciousness. This is one of the most important and vital keys to growth. I began to realize that everything else is secondary. Stay with me here. Everything else is secondary. It is more important for me to be awakened spiritually than anything else, is what I begin to realize. I begin to realize that my awareness has deepened. My awareness level has opened more and more and more. The things I started to see around me was enlightenment. I started to see things from those eyes, from an enlightened lens, I should say. And I know some of this may not make any sense to you, but if you have been on this journey with me, if you have been practicing a lot of the things that I have talked about, then you probably are awake by now, spiritually, so to speak. And I'm not talking about this term that we use, this woke term. And I'm talking about your consciousness, your mindset, your whole psyche has changed from the inside out. Not from the outside, from the inside out. Let me share with you this vital piece of information. Everything, and I mean everything that I have shared with you so far, had to happen in order for this spiritual awakening to take place inside of me. As discussed in one of our previous conversations about the caterpillar. The caterpillar has to be a caterpillar first. Then, eventually, the chrysalis forms, and then they become a butterfly. My friends, you have to be a human first. Don't let me start preaching to you. There's a reason why you were put into the womb and brought into this earth as a physical form, because you have to live physically first. You have to get all the things that you need physically first. Woo! Boy, don't let me start. I'm telling you, I'm already starting. We just started this conversation. So we can see that the caterpillar has its very own spiritual awakening, right? Once it gets its wings, it is spiritually awakened. It realizes that it was meant to fly. And that is what happened with me. It realizes its purpose. And that is what has happened to me. It is no longer in survival mode. And that is what happened to me, my friends. That is what happened for me. Now, for that species as a caterpillar, yes, as a caterpillar, it is all about surviving. It is all about receiving and getting the necessities for its survival, such as it is with us in the physical form as humans. Food, water, shelter, the earth, the elements that we need. The caterpillar needs the same elements. The little insects on the earth that it can eat. The caterpillar also needs a protected layer upon itself so that it can protect itself from predators. The same thing happens with us in physical form. Our spirit, our soul is protected by this armor, by this flesh, by this physical form, so that we can be protected from things on the outside that try to attack us. We also need the necessities as humans for life: food, water, shelter, all the elements, right? But see, the great thing about the caterpillar is that, yes, it needed all those things to survive, such as it is with us as humans. But now, as a butterfly, it is drinking that real juice. No longer drinking water. The caterpillar knew, oh man, I need this water. Now we're drinking that real juice, nectar. And by that, they are actually transferring pollen from plant to plant, enabling plant reproduction. The butterfly knew its purpose. Also, the adult butterfly's purpose is to mate and lay eggs. So now they pass on life, or should I say give life. This is a spiritual awakening, my friends. It is time now for you to be passing on life. So, all the things that I learned, I realize it is now time for me to pass this on to someone else. And so I was able to help someone else that was in the same group of recovery as me. Now it is time for me to go and share with this person the exact things that I learned and help them and walk alongside of them in their journey and share my experience with them in hopes that they will also, in turn, have a spiritual awakening. My friends, that was years ago, and here I am today doing the same thing with you. Now I've taken it to the outside world. No, my purpose isn't just for those that are in recovery. My purpose isn't just for those that are in these support groups with me. My purpose is now to be fulfilled throughout this world. Woo, yes. The butterfly knows. It has a spiritual awakening, and it knows. I got to go get that real juice. I got to go get that nectar. I got to do that so I can transfer this pollen from plant to plant so that the plants can continue to reproduce, so that all these other organisms can have life. Wow, what an amazing example. So we can take that example even further. The butterfly symbolizes a spiritual awakening by representing the profound metamorphosis. It was a metamorphosis that took place inside of me. The same thing happens with the caterpillar. The caterpillar transitions from a crawling caterpillar on the ground, right? Earth, it needs it, through a chrysalis, which then inner reflection happens when it's in that chrysalis. It is away from the earth. It is off of the ground. It is taking time to reflect. Not only that, also breaking itself physically. It is breaking itself down completely. And then it becomes a winged creature. And then it busts out of that cocoon to spiritual liberation, to a spiritual awakening, to freedom. This, my friends, is real freedom. When that happened to me, I had my taste of real freedom. I'm not talking about this physical crap on this earth. This physical, I'm free. You'll never be free physically. If you are in the physical state, you will never be free. Don't let me have to repeat myself. If you remain in the physical state, you will never be free. You will always be held captive because you will be struggling in survival mode for the necessities that you feel that you cannot go on without. Oh, I need food. I need shelter. I need this. I need that. And you will constantly be worried about this material plane and everything that's happening around you. And you will not be focused on the spiritual side of things. When I had that spiritual awakening, I started to tap into my spirit. What does the spirit say about this? What does the spirit need? The spirit needs to go and share this with somebody else. Everything that I learned, let me go grab somebody that may be new to recovery or may be struggling in recovery and grab them and offer my services up to them. Then the Spirit also said to me, well, it's bigger than that. You need to finish writing this book that you started, and then you need to get it published. And people all over the world need to see this. If only one person reads it, great. Then it helps one person. That is spirit talking, my friends. The physical will say, oh my gosh, I need this book to become the greatest book. My first book should make this much amount of money. And then the physical says, well, I failed because it didn't make that much money. The physical is all about doing it for the physical results. I had a spiritual awakening. It was like, man, you know what? I got to do this because this is my purpose. This is actually who I am. I am a writer. So I'm just going to write. And if it reaches one person, amen, glory to God. If it doesn't, that's fine. But I'm living out my purpose. But I knew deep down inside, because spiritually I was awakened, that this will help one person. And hopefully that one person will pass this on. Yes, of course, it is okay to have dreams. It is okay to have goals and these big dreams. I still have big dreams. I had big dreams then, but I did not allow the physical to be affected by the results of my first book coming out, by the results of sales or lack thereof. I did not allow my physical to be, you know what I did after I wrote that first book? I sat back down and went to the coffee shop and started writing my second book. I didn't even think about the sales. I didn't even allow myself to be affected physically because I was spirit now. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then right after that, I wrote my third book. And then right after that, I've been working on my fourth book. I have been working. Because this is what spirit does. Works in the background for the greater good of others. I am not doing any of this for me. I am doing it because this is who I am. This is what I'm supposed to do. So when you have a spiritual awakening, you realize that you were sent here on purpose for a purpose. So let's go back to the caterpillar a little bit. The transformation from caterpillar to butterfly is a metaphor for rebirth. I was reborn. I was taken out of the physical into spirit. The chrysalis represents that darkness stage. We've already talked about that in the conversations. Remember the death of my old identity, part 1, part 2, part 3. Then we talked about darkness. I was inside of a chrysalis. I was sharing with you the exact transformation process that was happening back then. Darkness, introspection, inner work, necessary for spiritual growth. Then emergence and enlightenment happens once the caterpillar breaks free from the cocoon as a butterfly. Yes. And their flight process represents the freedom from heavy, earthly, negative burdens, emotions that weighed them down before. Oh man, I'll always be a caterpillar. always be attacked by all these predators. There's never enough food. There's never enough money. There's never enough. I need more. Maybe the caterpillar was saying that, affected by the negative burdens, affected by the negative emotions. That was me. I used to have that type of mentality before I was spiritually awakened. Oh, nobody will ever accept me. Nobody will ever love me. Everybody will always leave me. Where's the rest of my caterpillar posse? They're going to. That is physical, all physical. All material, all physical. Right? So why I emphasize this again is to give you a symbol or a picture of what it was like for me. That's why I am talking about the caterpillar transforming into the butterfly, because Kareem was a caterpillar and I am now a butterfly. Everything I have shared with you led me to a deeper connection, the one with myself, with others, and with God. And through that process, I became spiritually awakened. I was able to let go of my old self, my old beliefs about myself. I let go of blaming others. I let go of my pride, the shame, and the guilt. And I allowed myself to connect with God through prayer and meditation. And that is why we talked about that last week. Now, I have had an evolution of consciousness, an evolution of the mind. And if you have been practicing these tools and or the ways, I should say, that I have been clearing the wreckage so far, then you should be spiritually awakened. There should be an evolution of the mind, of consciousness taking place inside of you. This is a transformation process that can be a little difficult to explain. That's why I use the caterpillar to the butterfly. Because unless this is happening, unless you are the one that is going through this, you are probably the only one that can understand it for yourself. And you may not even be able to understand it. You may not even know what is happening. The people around you, though, they see a different person. They're like, wow, this person is completely different. They even think differently than they used to. They see themselves in a different light. They're not so down on themselves how they used to be. So with that being said, the caterpillar transforms to a butterfly, that whole analogy I gave you. And with that analogy, this sort of spiritual awakening we're talking about will shift your mindset from the survival-based living to a state of flourishing and self-actualization. Sort of like a reset button or rebirth, giving you a deeper, authentic sense of purpose. This awakening involved me releasing those limiting beliefs, societal conditioning, and ego. And I am about to share something with you in a moment that, man, I was conditioned. I was so conditioned by not only society, but by religion, by my parents, by everything around me. And I thought that is the way that I'm supposed to live. I had no sense of purpose. But the spiritual awakening empowered me to stop seeking external validation, instead to stand on my own authority. On my own authority. I began to recognize that I am not my thoughts. I am not my emotions, which also helped me gain a little bit more, just kind of mastery over my reactions, right? When I became spiritually awakened, I realized I am no longer my thoughts or my emotions. Okay, yeah, that's a negative thought, but that's all it is a thought. Okay, yeah, that's an emotion, but that's all it is an emotion. I didn't attach myself to that thought or that emotion. I realized that, okay, this is how I feel. I can sit in that for a moment. But then this too shall pass. That is a spiritual awakening. When you start to just look at stuff and go, oh, this too shall pass. Yeah, it may hurt for a little while. Yeah, those emotions may sting a little bit, but you realize this too shall pass. That, my friends, is a spiritual awakening. You're given clarity. I was given clarity. I was given a new sense of purpose. And then I realized I'm here to serve. Doggone it, that is a spiritual awakening. If you're still walking around here trying to be served, you have not awakened spiritually. If you're still walking around here looking for a handout, you have not awakened spiritually. If you're still walking around here looking at everybody else and blaming them for your problems, you have not awakened spiritually. If you're still walking around here condemning yourself, you have not awakened spiritually. May I continue? It is time to have a spiritual awakening, to see yourself with the right eyes. I am a spiritual being having a human experience. And then, the great thing about that, because we talked about everything that led up to this point, we were working on connecting with ourselves, connecting with other people, restoring relationships, restoring a relationship with ourselves, restoring a relationship with other people, and then restoring our relationship with the one who created us as spirit. And becoming aligned with that and knowing that I am connected to spirit. And once you realize that, you will not look at people the same way that you used to look at people. You will start accepting everyone. No matter what color they are, no matter how different they look than you, you will even start reaching out to other people that look different than you. People that talk different than you. You may even start investigating a little bit, asking questions to other people that do not look like you. This is a spiritual awakening. Those of us that are dead still walk around dead, still look at other people as a dead human. What do I mean by that? You look at the person from their physical form. You look at other people as physical. Oh, all you see is the outside. In other words, is what I'm saying to you. And if you only see the outside, my friend, you have not awakened spiritually. Because when you have a spiritual awakening, you are tapped into the spirit realm, you are tapped into the spirit world, and you realize about yourself first that you are connected to spirit and that you are spirit having a human experience, and then you realize that about every single person on this earth that you come in contact with and every other person on this earth. We are all spirit. Then you're able to see the spirit inside of the person. You're no longer seeing the physical. So when someone does something to you and you feel harmed physically, you realize, oh, you know what? They didn't really mean that. That person probably just don't really know who they are yet. You start to live an authentic life. You start to be your own self, and to thine own self, you start to be true. Catch my drift? So with that being said, that's all I got for you today. I was going to read something for you, but I'll read that at a different time. But basically what I'm saying to you is, When you become awakened spiritually, you realize that you are connected to every single thing. Every single thing. And that's how it was for me. My eyes opened to a whole new world. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm connected to everything. Everything. Every living organism I'm connected to. The butterfly realizes that. Oh, let me go to this plant and get me some nectar so that these other plants, because I'm connected to it, because if I don't do this, the pollen will not transfer. I'm connected to this. I must do this. Realizes its purpose. So let me ask you this before I leave you. Do you realize who you are yet? That spiritual awakening that I had brought me into myself, brought me into kind of realizing, oh my gosh, this is who I am. Oh man, this is who I'm meant to be, not necessarily what I'm meant to do. When you have a spiritual awakening, you realize that you are a being, a spirit being, not a human doer or even a, you know that you're a human being, but you know that you are a human being. And that is it. Who has, I didn't say that right. You know that you are a spiritual being, who is having a human experience. That is what I meant to say. I was getting passionate and all worked up, and I said the wrong thing. My fault. You will realize that. Oh yeah, I'm just placing this physical body. But what's inside of me is what really matters. That is what you begin to realize. All this material stuff. That's what I began to realize when I had that spiritual awakening. When I was open, when I was awakened to seeing things differently, I saw myself differently. I said, oh my goodness. None of this stuff matters. None of this stuff matters. All this physical stuff, it doesn't matter. What matters is what's inside of me. And that is why, my friends, years later on this journey, you see, years later, and I've been doing the same thing. I've been focused on the same purpose. And that is taking some time to look inside, because I know that the inside is what matters. This outside stuff, this external stuff, none of that matters. None of it matters. And that is what you begin to realize once you have a spiritual awakening. That's all I got for you. I'm going to keep it short. Next week, we'll talk about more on this topic, or we'll talk about something else. Who knows? But anyway, just stay tuned and stay with me as always. And how I always leave you, take some time to look inside so that the wreckage can begin to clear. Peace.